All right, so my first question is, when you first started working on Back to the Future, did you have any idea in your head that it would be such an iconic, like legendary movie series? Because really the movie has a very intimate feel to it, like in my opinion.
Look, when you make any movie, you don't have any idea whether anybody's even going to go see it. So no, of course we had no idea, and it took us almost 4 years to get the project off the ground. The script was rejected over 40 times. So did we think we were contributing to popular culture, and were we thinking about what was going to be happening in the 21st century back then in the 80s? No, we were not.
And something I always felt like, I saw the movie when I was a teenager, and it was one of my favorite movies ever. I mean, it had a big impact on me, in terms of movies that I loved. And one of the things I always love about it is the fact that it seems to be one of the movies that it puts a whole bunch of genres into the same film, meaning like action, comedy, romance, science fiction. It has like a really strong heart to it. And it's amazing that much stuff all works together. It doesn't distract from each other. It works perfectly together. I don't know if you want to say anything about that. I think it's really nice.
It is amazing. And, funny story, when we used to have video rental stores like Blockbuster, they never knew what aisle to put the movie in. Is it family? Is it action? Is it comedy? Where does it go? It just, Bob Zemeckis and I wrote a movie that we wanted to see. And we said, well, why can't you do this? Why can't you do that? Today, everything seems to have to really be solidly in a genre, and I think it's bad. It's bad for the film-going audience. You don't get to have as much fun. You want to see a thriller, but you break it up with a little bit of fun. Watch Hitchcock's North by Northwest again. There's a lot of really funny stuff in there, but it's still really suspenseful. So you can mix up the genres as long as the characters are true to themselves. And you brought up the fact that Back to the Future feels like an intimate story. It is. It's a story about a family, and that's one of the reasons why the movie holds up. It's not a special effects movie. It's a movie about this kid and his parents, and this scientist, and the relationships between the characters. That's why it works.
Right, and one other thing I have, a couple things, but Back to the Future 2 and 3, I think it was one of the first times that two sequels were shot like simultaneously. And I had read that it was because you wanted to make sure that the studio wasn't able to go off and make like as many sequels as they wanted, and you want to have control over it, so they couldn't just start making sequels with other characters and other actors and stuff. And I wanted to, if you want to say anything about how complicated it was with the studio to have them do two movies at the same time. I remember they came out 6 months apart from each other, like November of '89 and May of 1990.
That's right.
And I remember, like I said, reading that you did it so that you'd make them two movies, and then they wouldn't be able to kind of go off and try to spin it off into stuff that you wouldn't want.
Well, we weren't thinking about whether they were going to spin it off into stuff that they didn't want. When we made the deal to do the sequels, we made sure that it was in our contract that they couldn't make any more Back to the Future movies without our involvement and permission and so forth. So once we got part 3 finished, we said, we're done, that's it. We've told the story we want to tell, and we're finished. Now, in terms of convincing the studio to do it, it was all economics, because they just wanted a second part 2, and we tried to create a version of, it would have been a 2.5-hour movie to have everything in it, and it would have been a $65 million movie. And I knew it didn't work that way, and Bob knew it didn't work that way.
Right.
I went to our production manager and I said, okay, here's the long script. Here's where we're going to bisect it. Budget this as if it was 2 movies. And give me 2 budgets. And we went back to the studio and said, look, we can make 1 movie for $65 million, or we can make 2 movies for $75 million. Well, what are you going to do?
And I think it worked out really well with the way each one, 2 and 3, have their total own identity. Like each one has a different setting, like the future and then the past. Good, very nice balance, I think. And well, I guess the one thing I would say quick is also you've written comic books. That was something that I read. I don't know if you would comment on some Spider-Man and some other stuff, or
Yeah, I've written Spider-Man, Batman, Daredevil. I wrote a Ant-Man special called Ant-Man's Big Christmas. Wonderful story, my favorite of my comic book work. Yeah, the folks at DC found out I was a comic book fan, and one of the editors called me up and said, "Would you like to write some Batman?" And I said, "Well, yeah." And then after Batman's No Man's Land came out, the first installment, then I got a phone call from Marvel saying, "Well, Gale, how about writing some stuff for us? Take a crack at Daredevil." I said, "Okay."
no, I'll definitely check those out because I wasn't really. I mean, I've read so many comics. I may have actually read them because you don't always see the writer's name. You read a lot of comics, you don't actually notice all the credits. So, but the Ant-Man one, I'm definitely going to check out. And that was one of you said your favorite one.
Yeah, Ant-Man's Big Christmas. It was a one-shot thing. You'll have to look around the floor and find somebody who's selling it, or I don't know, rip it off the internet. Some pirate.
I mean, I have a lot of comics. I've collected since I was little and stuff. So I might even have it someplace. I have so many now. It's hard to even
remember it if you had it.
Okay, maybe. All right, and one last question. I'm from a website You Don't Know Jersey, so like right across the river. I'm from New Jersey, and the question is, I don't know what you know about New Jersey, but whatever impression you have of New Jersey from whatever sources, what do you like or dislike about New Jersey? And there's no right or wrong answer. I know it's a weird question, but you can. It's the last question.
What? Real Housewives of New Jersey?
Okay. The reality shows. I know. We always get that. I know.
Well, it's The Sopranos. I mean.
Okay. Yeah, Sopranos was good. It's the ending, but
Jersey Mike's.
But that's about it. I mean, that's pretty much all the questions. Anything you'd like to add, or right? Okay. All right. Thanks a lot. Thanks. Yep. Okay. All right. Good. Yep. Okay.